I'm live. Of course, that's not working. All right. Welcome to the program, you guys on the cameras. Thanks for watching across the country. My name is Mike Bjorkman, broker-owner of HomeSmart here in Valencia, California, Northridge, California. Today we have an amazing guest speaker, a very close friend of mine. You guys know that I like to hang out with very successful people, right? Success breeds. So back in the day when I first met Nate Butcher, we became close really quick. We had a lot of things in common. We shared interesting stories together. I watched him, he watched me. Ever since then, we've been very good friends. Nate, what year did you get in the business?
2000.
2000. So what is that, 16 years? Good
16.
job.
16
That's a very
years.
good job. So one of the things I remember, because remember I was in the business almost 10 years before that, but when Nate got in the business, I met him. I think I met him at even an open house or something. He walked in and I had never heard of him. And you were a sheriff, was it back then, a cop? LAPD at the time. And I'm like, ah, crap, another fireman, another cop, part-timers. Give me a break. I'll never see the guy again. But what I remember the most is he took the frickin' town by storm. And it was right now. It wasn't something that took years and years to happen. He did all the right things, and he pushed forward really quick. And again, we've remained friends ever since. So today, Nate's the #1 agent in the entire state for realty executives. I don't know, you probably are like me, you don't know your exact numbers, or do you?
Not exactly.
Okay, yeah, he's an expressive like me and a driver. He's not analytical, he doesn't track his numbers. What he tracks is his bank account, yes or no?
I absolutely track my bank
account. Okay, so if you know anything about my good friend Nate, he's very wealthy. So I asked him to come in today and talk about a couple different things. All of you guys at one time or another are coming to me saying, Mike, there's a couple things I really want to excel in. Number 1, luxury. Number 2, geographical farming, right? Those are the hot things right now. And as the market turns, which it is, we're going to get back into that. So give Nate a round of applause and a nice HomeSmart welcome. Come on up, Nate.
Thank you.
So Nate has agreed for me to question him, and we're going to have a casual conversation. Interaction is absolutely welcome. Nate loves to talk and hear himself just like me, so ask away. And what I love about Nate and most of the people I'll bring in front of you, he's not going to lie, he's not going to hold back, he's going to tell you the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help him God, right?
That's right. Absolutely.
You didn't raise your hand when I said that.
Anything you need.
All right. So I picked the picture I could find on the internet from when you were 12.
Yeah, he's from 12.
Guess what
now 45, right?
What I wanted to do was talk about his career and how it got started a little bit. So in order to keep us on track a little bit, I wrote down some questions. So we already talked about the year 2000. Why did you get into real estate when you were already a successful cop?
You know, for me, it was more about I loved being a police officer, had a great experience doing it. I just really like the business aspect of life, of doing those different things. I grew up in a small town in West Virginia. I didn't know that you could come to California and make money. So once I moved to California, got out of the military, and was a police officer, I started seeing a lot of stuff going around. So that's why I started. So when I was 5 years on the police department, I got a license. So I actually worked both jobs for another 5 years. So I'd work as a police officer at night, and then I started selling real estate during the day. So I did both to get my legs started so I could afford to move on.
To the best of your recollection, what was the market like in the year 2000?
In 2000, ever since I've started, it's been very good up until obviously the last little beef we've had. So I've never had a big issue. I had a good client pool, so no matter where I'm at, I kind of use that pool. So for me, it was good. But I mean, I really prospected a lot. I don't to get started.
Right. So for those of you that weren't in the business in the year 2000, we had a pretty bad recession after the earthquake. We just leveled off in 96. Nobody really felt it, kind of like now how it's starting to go down, but nobody's really feeling it. 97, 98, 99 were good years. The year 2000 started jamming.
Yeah,
like,
that's what I remember.
Like hardcore, like, whoa, thank God, there is a real estate God, right? So we go from there. What was your first aha when you got in the business? You said, whoa, I can make money at this. I'm good at this. Do you remember a time where it clicked in your mind where you said, oh, I got this?
Actually, I do. The first thing I ever did, if any of you guys are new in the business, one of the police officers I was in when I first got a real estate license, I just kind of let everybody know. One mistake I made was I made the thing, if you use me, I'll just be cheap. The first, if you're brand new, don't do that, okay? Because you have to overcome that client base as you go on. You don't need to be a 4% listing agent just to get it. But I did, and I said, hey, use me. So he gave me a little house up in Castaic. And I did 14 open houses in a row, meaning each weekend.
That's where I met
14
you.
Open. That's
I
where you met me,
remember
right
that.
there,
I was
yeah.
like, what the heck? This guy's on
Yeah,
fire.
and you know, so the big aha for me was if you actually speak to people. So Mike does an amazing job, but it's amazing. What I like about this business is you can take your personality, what works for you, and totally make it work. Because we couldn't be more opposite as far as the way we do business. I don't do any technology. I don't do any emails. I don't do anything that he tells you to do probably. The only thing I do is talk to people. That's it. I do my own open houses. I do it all that way. So that's what I liked about it. So for me, I set that open house, and from then on it was a whirlwind. It was 30 years a deal, 30 deals a year out of a duffel bag as a police officer. Then it just went to 60, 70, 80, 100, just like that. So.
Just like that, guys.
No, it just happened just like that. But it was all from just face-to-face contact and dialogue.
There was a time where I remembered that you went from being this whirlwind to very focused on a geographical farm.
Yep.
Do you know what year that was?
You know, I don't know. I don't know what year that was. I bought my first house in Stevenson Ranch in '94, so that was before I started. So that's where I lived. I didn't really. I just picked it because it was there. So that's where I started working.
Okay.
In that.
So
So.
how'd you pick your farm? That's it. I lived
Yeah.
there. What were your fears when you picked this farm? Were you like, oh, should I? You know, what's going on in the farm? Did you have any fears that did you have to overcome something to say, I'm going to do this?
I tell you, like I said, everybody's different, and for me, I really didn't have any, and I'm still kind of that way. I probably have more fear now, being older, because I think people expect a certain thing of me after having like people know your name and things like that. At the beginning, I didn't have any expectations of myself because I'm like, well, I'm seen as some cop that'll be out in the business for in a couple years. So I just started meeting and talking and did it that way. So I think if I do have a fear and it's still the same one, I'm going to spend money and not get it back. So I'm very careful about every penny I spend. I do not want to spend thousands and thousands of dollars and not get it all back. So I really watch where I put my time and effort. And my mouth is the cheapest thing. It costs me no money, but it makes me millions of dollars, the speaking. So that's why I use it the most, and then I do my own.
Is your mouth free?
Your mouth is
and
free.
I can almost guarantee you that mouth has costed him money at one point. What has made
it has cost me.
What has made your career last? Why do you think you're here today and not gone?
I
like
think
the
I'm here today
part-time cop?
because I haven't burned out. I haven't burned out with doing that many transactions. I don't have a team. Okay, so
don't get ahead of yourself.
It's me. So I think the part, I won't get ahead of myself, but the part is just not burning out and staying focused. But I really like what I do. So when I'm out talking to those people, I don't do so much business that I completely burn out. I don't overflow my plate to where I can't handle it. So if I see that happening, I don't really back off, but it seems to back off a little bit, and I keep a balance.
Would you agree in your mind when you're overwhelmed and tired and you need that rest? For some reason, the universe replies to you and says, okay, the phone slows down a little
100%.
bit. Isn't that the weirdest thing ever?
No, it's 100%. When I need it, it feels like it just comes, and when I'm feeling good, like I'm definitely on the law right now. I went through the first half of this year. I made as much almost as I did last year, and I was like, oh, I think I'm getting kind of sick. I was up about 30 pounds. My weight, I'll go up to 260 and down to 200.
Him and I are exactly the same.
Yeah, we're the same, So when I see that happen to myself, I try to pull off and keep some kind of a balance.
That's awesome. What are your top 3 techniques that you could give to the audience to say if you're going to be successful, last in the business, or any technique for that matter?
I think the main thing that you should know, and I wished I would have done it when I first started because I would be doing twice the businesses now, is the database. It's everything. The database is everything. I only have about 500 past clients in my database, okay? But that's not a lot after 16, 17 years. If I would have kept that up and I would have had 2,000 of clients, those clients are mine. If one of those people in my database were to sell their house with somebody else, literally the whole earth would stop. Like they would get a phone call, I would drive to their house, I would be weeping. So what I'm saying is those people are very important to me. So you keep them close to you. Once you get them, you don't let them go, okay? The second thing I do is I touch that database at least 12 to 18 times a year, depending on what I feel like doing, right? So they get 3 handwritten notes. I do have somebody to write those, but they're all handwritten, hand-addressed, stamped, not with a label, okay? They get those 3 times a year. They get a postcard from me 6 times a year. They get 3 phone calls, 2 to 3 phone calls a year. And then I do a party at the end of the year that's always at my home, okay? So I have 400 or 500 people at my house to have that. And I tell you what, if you guys ever will do, some people like, I don't want to bring people, if you can bring people into your home, even if it's one person, 5 people, 10 people, they won't leave you. Once you bring them in, it's not known as a business thing, it's just something that I do, they'll stick with you. So those 3 things, it's all face-to-face contact, are probably my top 3 things.
That's amazing. Do you guys see a pattern when we talk to top producers? Client events, direct mail, handwritten, personal touches. It seems like a broken record, right? At what point do we start listening to top producers and say, oh, all right, let's do that. Let's move on a little bit. Let's talk about luxury. Now, why did you pick luxury homes? Do you guys know Nate is a luxury home specialist? I do too, right? So why did you pick luxury homes?
I think for me, I had to put my energy somewhere, okay? And I lived in the area where obviously I could move that route. So if I'm going to sell a house at 2.5% for $350, or if I want to sell a house for 2.5% at $1,250, now there is a sweet spot there. In this town, the sweet spot for me is 700 to 1.2, okay? Because those properties actually turn. Once you go over 1.2, you do a lot of spending money and sitting around, okay? But I remember another agent that does a lot of business, and when I was started to do that, so don't let anybody veer you from your focus that you want to do. I like seeing nice homes versus homes that aren't, okay? That's all personal preference. So he told me, oh, 350 houses will always sell. The $1 million houses will never sell in a bad market, so don't do that. Well, I didn't really want to do that, so I listed, and obviously the market corrected. The market's just fine with that. But that's basically why I did it. It's the same amount of work. But I will tell you this, if you're dealing with a luxury home client, you have to have more face-to-face. They want to feel like they're getting the guy. So I've always had a hard time, we'll talk about that later, of handing off the person. So if you're with that person all the time, they're going to take you. You don't see these people because they have $15, $20 million is better than you. You don't want to see them. You want to see yourself on the same playing field. You want to talk to them like you're on the same playing field. You want to give them good advice, and you want to tell them when they're making a mistake. And they'll respect it. Even if they tell you off, they'll still respect it and usually do what you want to do. So it's just more. 2.5% of $1 million is 25 grand. So then I only have to sell 50 houses and I'm done. Anything I sell over that, I look at that as my minimum every year. If I hit that and I get over, the rest of it's...
Right. And that's very similar to the reason when I decided to commit my life to you guys and make your lives different, I had to start giving a lot of my commissions away. So what did I do? I said, well, then forget the 400, let's go up to the millions, and now if I'm splitting commissions, I'm still making a good income. Does that make sense? Okay. Any regrets?
No, not on that at all.
Good.
No.
Do you market them the same as normal homes? Is there anything unique besides face-to-face that they need special anything, or is it just like a normal house?
Well, okay, because of my client base, I would say that you probably should, and there's probably a lot more things to do that. It just seems to be like the people I get when I sit down with them. I tell them that because I'm competing a lot of times against Mike or against Neil Weichel or against somebody, right? So if I'm sitting down, if I know, like for instance, Mike beat me on a listing that I had, and I'll just give you, since he won, I won't tell you all the other, most of the times I beat you, but I'll tell you about the time he beat me. Okay, so basically what I had to do was I basically go under, look, if you're looking for the technology guy, if you're looking for the fancy show, which I believe doesn't do anything, this is my dialogue. Now, whether I believe it all, but this is my dialogue, I'm probably not your guy. But I'm the guy who everybody knows sells the luxury home. So I say that with confidence, but you always have to stay humble, okay? They come to me when they want the house sold. And what it is, when I do sell my luxury homes, I show up for every showing. Okay, that is a big time sucker, right? And that is a big commitment. So if I go in with somebody with a team, like let's say now he would structure it different because he has a team, right? So if I would go in against Mike who has a team, I would say, you're going to get the guy. You're going to get the one everybody knows. I'm going to show up. So if you're a newer agent and you don't have a team or you don't have the money to fit that yet, that's what you want, and then I show up. So that's kind of what I do. But as far as like all my photographer, I pay a fortune to have great photography. That's the big kicker. The flyers are great. We all get the same internet market with a punch of a button, basically. So that's kind of the way I structure it, is they're going to have only contact with me, and I'll be there to actually sell the house to the agent that's coming in. But that's the only, but I do show up. That's the main thing I do.
No, that's extremely important. And then with luxury clientele, they often do want that. So since we're training, do you guys want to hear the script against that?
Exactly. That's perfect. I didn't know he would come up with that.
So, and this is important because you're going to be at different levels of your career. And I'll say, you know, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, I can appreciate the fact that Nate might have sat you down and said he's the guy, and technology is what not really sells homes. You know, it's understandable. Many people feel that spending thousands and thousands of dollars a month marketing your property isn't true. But let me ask you a question. If my drone tour, if my 3D walkthrough, if my Google ad campaign, if any one of these things found a buyer, maybe in Florida or New York, do you think that might help sell your home faster for more money? Sure, Nate might specialize in the neighborhood and have a party and show up, but I'm actually marketing this property not only in Valencia, but nationally and internationally. Mr. and Mrs. Smith, do you truly believe the nice guy in the community is going to sell your home, or spending time, effort, energy, and money actually finding buyers outside of this area? Do you feel that might work better? And when you also, you know, you're right, I do have a team. You know, unfortunately, some people without teams are walking around photocopying, making flyers, doing things that aren't necessary. I wake up every morning with a passion to find a buyer for your home. So without that team, I can't do that. Does that make sense, Mr. Smith? Sign here. Okay?
And that is a great, that's exactly right. Like, that's a great rebuttal, because here's the thing. Every person wants something different. So I would say if my spiel is as good as his spiel, one's not better than the other. If that person is going to go for that, that's what they're going to go for, so you can't get them all, so you can't beat yourself up. I still do, but you can't. Like when I lost that listing in the Woodlands for 1.8 to Mike, I was like, shoot, I should have talked about the freaking drone, because I know that's what he did, right? Right. So
it's no secret what we do for marketing.
It's no secret, right?
Let's face it, it's me, Neil, him, Kathy Watterson, Helm LaPrade. There's a few top producing luxury
We
agents.
go against each other all the time. And
all
the
the
one
time.
thing you always want to do, too, if you ever sit down at the table, you never, ever badmouth another person. You can tell why you think your thing is better. I probably complimented Mike on that particular listing and Neil more than I talked about myself, because I was so afraid I would come across, because people will smell that right away. And we have to have that relationship. And when he got it, I'm like, next. I moved on.
And when you are talking about your competition, for the purpose of this meeting, I did use his name, but I would never purposely or on purpose use their name. I won't say Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Nate can say this. I'll say some others might say this. Maybe other people feel this way, but I'll never use their name directly, because in my opinion, that is bad-mouthing them. I'm just talking fact about the industry and what we do. Fair enough?
Absolutely.
All right. What do you do different than any other agent when marketing a luxury home? You already said it, kind of. You're the guy. You show up. But what else? Anything else that sticks out in your mind?
I mean, I still do all those things that you're actually talking about. I just don't focus on those as much. But I tell you one thing. The people out there don't know what network group you're in. Now, I use a network group that's me and Mike and Neil and Kathy and the 20 of the top broker, whatever. I use that. I mean, we all do. We all do. And I take a picture of everybody, and I say, these are the 20 agents you're getting. And they'll look at the pictures. Oh, he looks different. And I'll say, if there's anybody else you're talking to, then I'll make a joke. Okay, of course, I'm the best, but you can go down the list if you want. And we do things like that to joke it up. But I really use the contacts that I have, because my spiel is, look, when that thing hits the multiple listing service, everybody sees it. So that's basically what I do. I don't do anything other than that. No.
And that network group that we're talking about, maybe many of you have never heard of it before, but we are in control of about 70% of the inventory in the Valley. So it's nice when I do compete against the top agents, and we all know the script. Look, I can appreciate the fact you're interviewing some of the other top agents in the area. Look, when you list with me, you get us all. Sign here.
And here's what I'll capitalize on that. I don't ever have to be upset with Mike or Neil or whatever. And I just use those two names because I don't think I've lost a listing to anybody else. Okay, so typically I'll maybe lose one to Mike or one or two a year to Neil. I usually maybe 3 listings a year I don't get that I go on. That's about what but the reason I do that is because everybody in this small town, they all know, but there's enough business for all of us. If I look at all the listing appointments I go on, so if I take, let's say, only listings maybe 50 a year, I'm only competing in probably 10. Everybody else just, Nate, come over, sign me up. So after you have some time on, so when you do have those competitive listings, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's the lower stress of the way. Well, we just talked about competition. We don't need to go there. Now, one of the main thoughts I have when I preach luxury listings to these people, I have to say, look, you guys are going to get some good quality listings from it. You know, if they're going to buy a 1.2, chances are they have a 750 to
Absolutely.
sell. Talk to them about that.
Absolutely. So or a lot of times if I'm moving somebody up, one thing that I do is I do travel. I don't just stick here. So I've been to Seal Beach, I'll go to the beach, I'll go wherever. So if somebody is selling their property, but I think the main thing you could do is knowledge in whatever you're doing or whatever way that you're doing it. So I know my database. I know that Carol moves every 2 years. I know that Elliot moves every 2 years. I know kind of who does what. So if they have those listings, a lot of times I'll plant I'll plan, hey, I'll just shoot them an email, hey, I thought you might take a look at this property that's coming up, I thought you might think it's cool. And I know that there's certain ones, a little birdie goes off. The husband will call and be like, you jerk. Can't say that, right? So, and the wife's like, come on, let's go take a
Herman's
look.
got the beep button.
I've taken a lot of ladies out to go check out the house, and then, you know, they hit them later. So, or vice versa. So, but, you know, move up is probably, or move down.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of people, maybe the big thing here, like, you know, those Customs or the Oakmonts over there in Westridge, a lot of those folks, you know, they're coming to retirement age, and now my sphere is getting to be 40s and 50s. Some of those people are wealthy, so they can start. A lot of them, their kids are getting ready to leave. So you also want to look at a move down. You know, you sell that one for $1 million, and move down to 600, go into the Summit, something nice or whatever. So I work that too.
Okay. One thing I know about you that I can't even believe I wrote down in here, you just touched on it, but you touched the knowledge. Now, one thing I could never compete with you on is every single house in Westridge, every single house in Stevenson Ranch. You know the house, you know the floor plan. How important is it for these guys to preview properties in their farms and know their inventory?
You got to know it. And here's how deep I go, and people love this, okay? And it's a shame that people love it, but they love it, okay, is the drama, okay? Why did this house sell and this one didn't, and who did what? Okay, I'm not even a gossip, but when I sit down at my listings, I'm a gossip. If I know your business and you're selling your house, your neighbors are going to know, right? So when I sit down and say, when I pull up, like when I go to do a listing presentation, all I do is pull thumbnail, okay? The thumbnail sheet, that's my listing presentation. I don't go in with fancy, I personally don't, okay? It's a thumb, and I write notes all over it. I write notes all over it. And people look and I say, I know this looks sloppy, but this shows you I'm doing my homework, right? They're like, yeah, what is it? And I go, house, didn't have a pool, terrible backyard, this is divorce, this happened, that happened. I go through every house and I make sure that I know. I'll call the agents before, hey, why didn't this house sell, why hasn't it? So I get all my ducks in a row. So when I come in for my listing presentation, it's not a lot of theatrics, but it's a lot of good juicy information, right? So, oh, this one's back. So I'll make sure I see those properties. I make sure I know the agent who's handling it. I make sure if they've had offers, if they haven't, why hasn't this sold, why hasn't it? So when I go in there, there is no question I don't answer. I answer the question no matter what they ask me. If I answer it wrong, I call them back later and say, you know what, I gave you some misinformation, and people really appreciate that too. Yeah,
yeah, I've been up against Nate before, and he rattled off Mr. and Mrs. Smith and Mr. and Mrs. Jones, and I'm like, I'm not going to win. All right, so let's go into a little bit of our team. So first of all, if you have a buyer's agent, would you show the luxury ones?
Yes.
Why?
I would. Well, I'm not saying I would never have a buyer's agent, depending on who that person is. And I have had teams, and I've had teams of 7 in the past. It just didn't work for me in my life as I move on, right? So, I would personally show the luxury houses in the fact that, to be honest with you, I don't want to let the deal go, and I'm a little bit of like to control it, so I know if a problem is made. I don't think there's anything wrong with a new agent showing a luxury property, but if I'm the agent and I have a team, and that person is going to show that property, I'm almost going to quiz them before they know. Before I'm going to let them go and show one of my listings or show, I've got to make sure that everybody's comfortable with that. I've got to make sure the seller doesn't feel slighted, and I've got to make sure that that person, they know their stuff, at least on that one particular property.
Gotcha. Thoughts on buyer's agents? Let's continue about that. Why don't you have one today, or do you?
I don't have one today. I worked with Bree Waterman for the last 2 years. Here's what happens to me with buyer's agents, and maybe this is I would say it's a good thing for that buyer's agent. For me, it's like I can't keep a buyer's agent. So what will happen is the buyer's agent will come, okay? I will train that buyer's agent. They'll do 20 deals. 20 deals is the key. Once you're doing 20, you don't need 8 anymore. Once you're doing 15, if you're selling 600, once you make about, I see the hit when they make about 120, 130, they check out. Okay, so what happens is once they've seen how to do it, and I actually get them to do it, so it lasts about 2 years. So that's really the only thing. And maybe I'm not good at attracting the loyalty. I do a lot of this stuff myself. I don't know what it is. So that's basically been my situation. So, you know.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit. The reason I have a team is because I can't do it all. What if you were to go away this weekend and take your family to the beach, and somebody wants to see the big $2-point-something million listing? What do you do?
Here's exactly what I started doing, because it's cheaper for me, okay? Because even when I would train a buyer's agent, there was a lot of mistakes. So for me, for instance, Alex Rodriguez, he's a very reputable agent out here. He works, there's a couple agents in Realty Executives as a whole. So if, like this weekend, I took my son to a surf contest, okay? So I had a backup. Hey, so if I have to, most people don't even want to take money for it because I return a favor if they ever need me to help them on this or that. But so I don't think that's the right way to do it, but at this point in my career, that's all I'm doing. But I'll get somebody to if I'm going to go, I'll let my client know I'm going to be gone for a couple days or something like that. But usually it's just not a problem. I do take my vacations and I do my trips. I do a lot of smaller ones, so nothing can't be postponed a couple days.
Right. And everything we do, obviously, I ask these questions for a reason. So even if you're not on a team, even if you're yourself, what do we always say? Have a partner that can help you on the weekends if you're gone. Somebody can be on your team even though they're not technically on your team. You could pay somebody hourly. It could be just somebody in your office. Make sure that that's covered, though, because the biggest question that I get from a lot of luxury clients as well is who handles your stuff if you're not around? And they want to know they're being taken care of.
Right, and I do want to say about a team, I think the team concept is an absolutely wonderful concept if you have the ability to make it work, okay? I think most people don't have the ability to make it work. I think that they want to make it work because it's very appealing for you to be the guy and 10 agents go out and make you money and you cash the checks. I totally understand that. But what I saw in me is that's not really me. Like, I couldn't build a company like Mike has done. That's not my forte. So I think sometimes you have to step back, be humble, and say, okay, what are my strengths and my weaknesses? My weaknesses is I can't manage people. I don't have that ability, so I go this way. Mike went this way. So I think as you as a person, if you just look at where your strengths and weaknesses are, you may be somebody who loves to have somebody to bounce something off. If I'm working with a team and they call me, I'm like, oh, I got to pick up the phone. Okay, because they're bugging me, right? So everybody's different. So you just need to go with what works for you. You can make anything work as long as you do it properly.
Awesome. You answered that perfectly, buddy. What about your transaction coordinator or assistant for the actual paperwork stuff?
Okay. I think that's probably why I don't need a team, and I'm glad you asked that question. So my TC, as he's called, is a licensed agent, okay, and he is brilliant, okay, and he handles so much. Like, I don't even know what's going on in a transaction as far as paperwork and papers and doing anything. He does everything. He writes the repairs, so he does so much of my work. He gets paid about 3 times what a normal transaction coordinator would be paid, okay, but literally he handles so much of my stuff. So when I do leave to go away, the only thing that wouldn't be is if I had to actually show up for something, show up for a listing, show up for a property, show up for something like that. So he handles everything. So, it's absolutely, you have to have that. I mean, you just have to. You can't be, no, I would have to have that. Unless you're only doing 10 or 12, and then you'll never go any farther if you're drowned in paperwork. But I don't do any of that. I do my listings and I write the contract, I do the listing, I don't touch disclosures, I don't touch anything.
So you just went like this. Are you still using pens to do listing appointments?
What do you mean?
Are you still writing them out? Or are you
no. I mean, I type up my contract when I go to sit down to list appointment.
So you physically go into DocuSign.
Okay, here's the way I do it. I physically go into DocuSign. I type up my own listing, all my own offers. I do everything until escrow is open. He doesn't touch a file, talk to anybody, negotiate anything, touch it. That's my baby until I get it. As soon as it does, I give it to him. He yells at me, corrects every mistake that I made, which is typical, and then he fixes it, and we move on. That's our relationship. It's worked, and it's worked for a lot of years, so that's why I'm able to do that. But, oh, yeah, no, I do everything myself up until that point.
All right. During the escrow period, do you feel it's important to go through the inspection, the walkthrough, and handle the negotiating repairs?
I do that. I don't do the paperwork, but, no, I do the inspection. I show up with all my clients for the inspection. I do the final walkthrough. Yeah, I do all that. So I do that personally. Yeah.
And the reason I ask that is because there comes a point where you get busy and your team does appraisals, inspections, and stuff like that, and you lose this connection with your client. But I know he does that, and that's why I wanted to bring it up.
Well, and that's the reason I think that I'm able to sell, 70 to 100 homes a year with only 400 people in my database. So I'm saying for you, as you're looking at the way you're going to develop your business, I don't need 5,000 to sell 100 houses. I only need 500. So, but that's just because I choose to know each person a little bit better versus hit the masses. You can do it in either way. More than one way to skin a cat. I mean, that's
exactly. So who does your marketing?
Okay, the marketing.
All your flyers, your photos, your whatever.
So I have a photographer. So here's what happens when I get a listing. I go in, I take the listing, I get on my phone. As soon as I sit in the car, I call Aaron, my photographer, say, boom, call the client. He sets up the appointment. He goes out, takes the photos. He does the flyers, sends them to Mike. Mike prints them out, gives them to me. That's my flyers. Mike puts it all on the internet. I do have a lady who just works from home. All I do is call her, and she has all my templates that I've had over the years set up if I'm doing any mail or letters or anything like that. I won't tell you what my letter says, but I have a letter I send out.
I'll give it to you.
Freaking works. So if you ever see it come in the mail, just copy that puppy. You know? So if I ever get slow, I literally send out 1,000 letters and bam. So I can kind of adjust it the way. So, but I think that only comes because it's a personal handwritten letter and they already know my name. So you have to have some, there's different stages in building your career. You have to build at this point. Now I'm at a point, okay, where do I go from here? So, and I've asked that question.
Well, let's go sideways a little bit. Instead of talking about the team, let's talk about branding in your neighborhood. I mean, if I was to drop them off in Westridge and you were to die yesterday, what would you suggest they do as far as branding?
Okay, I'll just tell you what I did, right?
Okay.
That's the best way to go. Okay, I did spend money, a ton of money, when I first started, okay, and I did it for about 6 or 7 years. So I took the area that I had, which was Westridge and Stevenson Ranch, and I bought all the shopping carts, okay? People say that's a waste. It was an enormous amount of money. I don't know if it was a waste or not, but I spent it. That's what I did. So they saw me and I kept it for 8 years, okay? Real estate, kept it for 8 years, okay? I mailed every house for 8 years, okay?
How often?
In there. Every month.
Every month.
Every month, okay? So what I did was, and I was planning on always keeping that until I started looking, and what I do is I track where each lead comes from. You ask me if I know my numbers, I probably know them a little bit better than I give out. Okay, so on a little yellow tab right by my thing, every time I sell a house, I write where it came from, where the referral, and then I go back and look. Well, what I saw was most of my stuff was still coming from, you know, from my referrals and my past clients and this and that. So I eased up on the marketing just because I couldn't handle any more business. I mean, if I wanted to get 2 buyer's agents and market more, I could double the production. But I don't know if that's what I want, okay? So if you do keep that up, but you have to do it consistent. So take your farm of 200 or 500, and you got to be in everything all the time, in their mail. You know, I never was a door knocker, but that would be a great thing. I just never did it. You know?
Right.
So, but you have to be there. You have to be there.
When I coach agents all over the country and they say, well, when you get to this certain status, you feel like you separate yourself from the hand-holding and the touching and the handwritten letters and all that. But I want to point out to you guys it gets more important.
It's more important.
More important as it goes through. So a lot of people say, oh, it falls in your lap. It doesn't fall in your lap. And I also wanted to go back to something you just said. We talk about in our business turning on and off the faucet. So if I said, well, let's say I was in the hospital for 6 months, I would turn the faucet way down, right? I would stop a lot of the different things I do. But what he just said was crucial for you guys to hear, because he said, when I get slow, I turn the faucet on.
Right.
So that's the kind of control you need over your business, to go back and forth, depending on where you're at, where your mind's at, where your family's at. I'm sure, you know, right before your wife had a baby, you might have turned that down a little bit. Right. And then after you were like, oh my God, I need to get out of the house, you turn it back up.
All of your income, I don't care if you're me, I am no different than you or Mike or anybody else. It's not like because I'm telling you, it is not rocket science. I am not a smart guy. The only thing I do is I'm very persistent at what I do. The reason Neil sells double of what I do, okay, and I always like to use him because if you ever want to look at a business plan, he beats us all, right? But the good thing about he's so structured, like everything is bam, 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 and it never stops. Every hour of his day is slotted, and it never stops, okay? I don't have it in me. But I'm saying that's still the way that you want to get. So when I turn on the faucet, like I did so much business the first half of the year, I kind of let my prospecting go. So now I come up the other day, and I've only got a few in escrow, and I'm like, what am I going to do? So now I've got some postcards going out. I've got my letters going out. I'll make probably 100 calls in the next 5 to 6 days. Okay, I'll leave a message if they don't pick up. If they pick up, I'll talk to them. All of a sudden, if I do that for 2 to 3 weeks, I'll bank 5 or 6 listings. Then I'll get the buyers to do a couple open houses. I'm swamped again. So,
you guys hear this stuff?
No, that's how it works. That's how it works. Yeah.
And this too, question.
So would you recommend door knocking in the luxury neighborhoods? Or how would you
If I was, your question is, would I recommend door knocking the luxury neighborhoods? Probably not. Okay. Here's what I would recommend doing. I would recommend getting somebody that's already got a listing in there. and just freaking, I mean, if you call me, if you want to advertise a listing that it's your listing, and I don't know what technically you have to put on it, I could care less, right? So if you call me and want one of my Oakmonts or whatever that it is, or Woodlands properties, and you want to market it, just call me. I'll let you market the home. I don't care a bit to market it, just so you do the legalities because it's realty executives and whatever. So I would take that particular property and I would market that property. If I was going to door knock the luxury homes, I would actually take a flyer from a property that's already for sale, because you have to have a reason to be there versus just showing up and be like, I really want to sell your $3 million house on Oak Savannah. Okay? What you would want to do would be like, I have a property. You might even want to tell the person, hey, this is for sale. I was wondering if you knew any, I'm trying to sell this property, help the listing agent sell the property. I'm just thinking off the top of my head, this is what I would do. I'm trying to help Mike Bjorkman sell this property. He works for a different company. But do you have any neighbors or friends, or do you have any friends that you know might want to move in to be your neighbor? Boom. People will talk to you. They'll be like, sure, I'll take the flyer. A lot of them will just be like, yeah, okay, whatever. But you only got to get one. Every time that I've tried to door knock, and it's only been maybe 10 or 15 times over the year, I literally get to 4 houses, then I'm in the living room, I'm done. I'm in there talking for like 2 hours. So you may get the door, everybody's afraid of it, but you may get the door put in your face like, no, 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 boom. Somebody wants you to sit down and have a cup of coffee. There's a lot of lonely people out there. So I'm saying that's what I would do. That's, you got to be careful. If you're a lady, don't go to the screen door house with the big lock on it yourself, but I'm just saying. I'm just saying, if I were to do that, I would take other people's success and I would just kind of like, okay, because Mike, look at all the stuff he has. You don't need me. You don't need to call me for my listings. He has plenty. Just go to one of his, I'm sure, and take it and say, I work for HomeSmart. I'm trying to sell, and hit all those properties with a flyer. All you got to do is print them up. Cost you $10. I mean, I'm just thinking that's what I would do.
To answer your question my way, I would say absolutely yes. But what I would do is I would prepare for that. I might send out a mailer on Monday about a home that our company has on the market. Like, for instance, the one we just reduced on Shady Oak, $200,000 price reduction. I might mail that out branded to you, and then maybe the next Monday I would mail out a market update, what's going on in the neighborhood, maybe an event, maybe whatever's going on in that area. Then I would knock, because I'd like them to see my name a couple times to build a little street cred before I started beating on their door. Because if they got 2 things in the mail and then I hit the door, then they're like, oh yeah, I know who you are. And you're not just like some total stranger. But I do like, when I did knock luxury homes a long time ago, they'd say, you're the very first person that's ever knocked on my door. That's really interesting.
Because everybody's intimidated. You don't need to be.
Yeah, and
You don't need it.
it's really weird. All right, let's go time off and schedule. Talk to us about what's your schedule like during the day? We know you're not bam, 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 bam.
No, I'm not.
But give us a week in the life of Nate.
I get up. If I'm feeling good, I do a workout. If I'm not, I don't. I basically go into the office. The first thing I do is I always keep all my notes on my phone. So I'll have, at the end of the day, I'll have a list like this of everything I need to do tomorrow, okay? I want to tell you what to do and what not to do. Okay, I'm really bad about being spacey and jumping from calling this person back to prospecting 2 calls to do this and to do that. I truly think you need to have some kind of a base schedule. For me, I jump around a lot depending on who needs what, no matter what it is. But basically, I'll get up, I'll go in, I'll see Mike, I'll see what we have going on, I'll look at whatever inspections I have or whatever. I try to always do some type of prospecting every day. So even if it's 5 calls, like I'll set, I want to make, I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but 20 calls a week. But literally, if I call 20 of my clients on the phone in a week, they talk for 45 minutes. So I'll hear people, I'll make 100 calls a day. Well, you ain't talking to nobody. You're not talking to anybody, excuse me.
That's fine.
That's the backwoods. So you don't even have to be smart, right? So, but literally, let's say, so I'll try to make, let's say 20 calls a week and do my stuff. So that's really what I try to do. But I will say now, to this point, a lot of it, the calls just come in. I just, like when I'm buzzing right now, when I leave, I could go and have someone in Steven Strand said, hey, can you come up and list my house? So then I'll just, that kind of takes precedence, or that kind of takes precedence. So, but I do not work day and night, day and night. I take time off. I go places on the weekends. I do all the stuff I'm supposed to do. But like I said, if I really get slow and I'm like, what the heck, all I'll do is bang out 2 open houses and do 4 open houses in a row, and I'm stacked. So, so it just depends. So, but the right way would be to schedule your time, prospect every morning from 9 to 10:30. I'd say if you would call from 9 to 10:30, every morning, or write handwritten notes, or send out a letter. If you did that for an hour and a half every day, 3 days a week, so that's 3, 6, that's 12 times a month, you couldn't handle all your business. If you'll just do an hour and a half, and I used to do that, you know. But see, when I started as a police officer, I prospected for 8 hours a day because I would be working. They'd get me on the call, on the radio, hey, yeah, and I'd say, and I'd meet them at the station, sign their papers or whatever. So that's the way I started. So you just have to use whatever client base you have, whatever.
Pretty cool to be working as real estate. It was a big old fat pension and a gun, huh?
Yeah. They didn't let me do it for, they would, yeah. They cut me off after a while.
I remember you got in trouble a couple
Yeah, somebody told the chief I made more money than he did. And that's honest truth. That's how I, and they came and told me I was running the real estate office. Not, you don't care, but.
Yeah, they do care.
So I was down at my other job at Metro. I was working what was out of K-9 and SWAT down there as a police officer. And at the last 6 months, I'd actually taken a desk job. So everybody was just coming in. I had city printers, city copiers. People were coming in, and I was just burning all night long. And
flyers.
And it was literally all the cops were coming in, standing up. I was signing disclosures, you know, the whole deal. We could do it at 7-Eleven, Fig and Adams. I sold more houses there, and I have, you know, so. But the only reason I tell you that story is no matter what your sphere of influence is, just kind of look at what you've got. If it's your church group, I do a lot of stuff with my church. If it's whatever that group is, if it's a mom's group, if it's your baby, if you're in that stage of life, no matter what it is, if you're old, if you're 70 years old and you go to the retirement home, what the heck do you care? So go to Belcaro, friggin' play bocce ball or whatever they play over there.
I played bocce ball last night.
Yeah, so whatever you do, but I think what people see in me is why they come is because hopefully you see it that I'm really being sincere. So when I talk to a client, I don't talk to them any different. We laugh the whole time. It's never serious. I look, if this is going to be stressful, I don't know if I want to do your deal. Right. And they'll laugh. And I'll say, look, we got to take this low key, and it's always stressful anyway. But
so he's starting to touch on things that I was going to extract manually from him because I knew he wouldn't bring it up. You just touched on something super important. Okay. Your sphere of influence and the community outreach. Now, you mentioned church. You mentioned maybe did you ever get a deal from Legacy? From school.
Well, that's the only reason my kids go to school. I mean, look,
we're gonna talk about
I
this.
act like I wing it, so I will. There is some thought process behind what I do, right? So look, I know why do I live in Westridge? My kids could go to public school. Why do they go to Legacy? Well, because the people in Legacy have more money, and it's a tighter community. I didn't do it because they have more money, but I'm like, okay, this is a tight community. If you go to that school, it could be any school, it could be Pinecrest, it could be any school, or anything. So I go to Legacy, so then I know those people. My kids go there. We have something to talk about when I see them on the street. So, yeah, I sell, I don't know, your kids go there too, right? And we don't compete. People who like him usually don't like my way, and people who like my people definitely don't like Mike's way. He's way too, he's a little hyper for me.
So these are some of the things I wanted to, like I said, extract manually because again, like what he just said, there's a lot more thought process, a lot more strategy to this. When my son decided to go to Legacy, when my wife decided my son would go to Legacy, I'm really sorry, Andy. Andy went to public school. But I said it was a unique time for me because I was like $25,000 a year. That's a lot of money for a second grader to go to school. And I just said if I got one transaction, just one from somebody with $1 million house, it pays for itself. The very first year, $250,000 out of the second grade class.
I'll give you another. I'll give you another prime example.
All the way through school.
I'll give you another prime example. Some people since I know I'm watching this, I can say it. Of my wife's friends will give her a hard time because she plays tennis a lot. Listen, the greatest thing. My wife makes about $200,000 a year playing tennis. Okay, and I truly mean that. Like she's at that Paseo Club. She knows all those ladies. I sell all their stuff. I sell all their stuff, so when she brings one in, we have a little joke. I keep it. When I have where my deals came from, I have referrals, clients, and I have Amy's referrals, okay? Usually she racks up at least $180,000 to $200,000 a year. And they'll give her a hard time. Well, you must have it made. You don't have to work. I'm like, get out there, play tennis, go. That's why I don't have an issue with it. So, like I said, I keep going back to the same thing, but whatever your situation is, you know, if you like to fish, then find a fishing group. It's your sphere of influence, because those people, if you connect, it's all about connection.
So, and what he's saying is no joke about Paseo Club. And when I first went to Legacy, I said, crap, Nate's there, Brian Palmer's there. But I knew from community outreach there's enough to go around. So then we joined Paseo Club. And Amy is the tennis goddess there. Everybody loves her. And I'm like, we'll never get this business. But what happened is my wife naturally went to the gym side. She's done every booty, body class, Pilates, spin, and now we've pulled probably another couple $100,000 a year out of Paseo, just like he does.
He's exactly right, because you can't do everything. You can't do everything. My wife doesn't do the booty classes. She does the tennis. I've never sold a booty lady.
Right, and I got all the booty
ladies. You got the booty ladies.
I'm doing all the booty ladies right now.
So,
and this is important when we're talking about luxury. You have to do things a little bit more strategically now, and that goes straight to the country club, right? I'm playing bocce ball at the country club last night. Not my favorite thing to do, but I'm surrounded by luxury clients. I'm surrounded by my sphere of influence, who I want to deal with, people that can afford $1 million home or more, right? I just got done telling you we strategically bumped our average sales price to $1 million. So now I have to do the things that other agents can or won't to play in that realm, because now they live everywhere. They're in St. Kenyon, they're in Granada Hills. So those are the types of things you have to do. And so there's a couple points that when Nate agreed to come here, that's why I was like, okay, cool, I could finally show people, don't not do something because somebody else is already doing it, because there's plenty. So you guys might question yourself right now saying, okay, I like Westridge, that's where all the $2 million homes are, but Nate, Neil, and some of the other people have it wrapped up. We don't.
Dude, there's plenty of people in Westridge that don't like Nate and Neil. Okay,
and hate them.
Well, and not even because, right, more hate him than me, but, but look, deals go south, people talk. What if I had one transaction and they knew 3 other people and they told them Nate Butcher cheated me out? I mean, it could happen no matter how hard you try. You can't do everything. So if you're brand new and you said, I'm just going to go and I'm going to work the Santabella track in Westridge, well, pick it out. If you want to go, I wouldn't pick the customs. They don't sell enough, but, go work the Bent Canyon track. Go work whatever. There's plenty. Look at who the listings are. They're not all us. I might have 1 or 2, and then there's 6 or 7 others. I mean, and a lot of people don't always want the person who thinks their stuff doesn't stink. And I will tell you this: if you sell a lot of property, you have to go in. Don't tell them how great you are. They already freaking know. If you're sitting at the table, they know what you sell. These people are not stupid. So you got to go in and just be completely as humble as can be, because if you start telling them how great you are, I mean, I tell them how great I am about selling their home, but just do not brag on yourself. You just can't do it. Right.
So to tap on that, we've been doing a lot of listing presentations lately, and people are actually saying, what are your numbers, and I don't necessarily, Johnny, I'll just be up front. Johnny asked me yesterday, I want to know our team statistics, and I want to know how many homes we sold, and what did I say? Basically, we did a mock listing presentation here. Did our awards ever once come up? No, it doesn't come up. It's you talk to them about what you're going to do for them and their home, and what you know about getting it sold. So what he said is so important. And there was a time where I started doing well in the business, and I had back then, don't laugh, the 3-ring binder with the sleeves of pictures of my awards and certificates, and I'd spend an hour with the client going over that. And it's so embarrassing to think of that.
I've done the same, dude. We've all. I tell you what I do now. And so here's what I do as far as, and that's why it would make it really hard for somebody if you were coming up against me for a listing. I'll just tell you, I go in and I have my last 1,000 transactions. Well, you're thinking, well, I didn't do 1,000. Okay, but that's what I do. I have my last 1,000 transactions, and I have my Zillow reviews printed out on both sides of the folder. Okay, so I go, look, I'm not going to, just so you know that what I'm telling you is true about the properties I sell. I don't really want to talk about all that. Here's a list. Okay, I printed them right out from the MLS, and they're just all right there in order. Okay, so then you don't have to talk about all that because they already know anyway. But if you've sold, if you're on Mike's team, use his statistics. We can all look in real estate. We're all number 1. I'm number 1 in Coldwell Banker on Valencia Boulevard on the 3rd floor, the 2nd quarter of the week, and we all put we're number 1. So people are burned out of hearing I'm number 1. I'm number 1. Really, what they want to talk about is the best thing you can ask somebody is when you go in to do a listing presentation. What I ask them is, can you just tell me a little bit about what you're wanting to do and trying to accomplish? I don't really say that much. I do a lot of listening. I don't really say a whole lot. I don't really say a whole lot.
Is this getting more and more fun? All of a sudden now we have a listing presentation. Testimonials, which is Zillow reviews. If you don't have Zillow reviews, get some, or something similar to testimonials. Third-party endorsement is super important.
Super important.
And the list, now he surprises us with the list of 1,000 homes. No wonder he's smoking every agent in the world, right? So what you might want to do is start calculating, put the HomeSmart numbers together, use something together like that if you want to, and you'll see if...
if you don't have a team and you work for HomeSmart, HomeSmart can be your team, realty executive. Look, people don't know the way we work, and they don't care. They want to have you want to go in with confidence. If you know your numbers, most of them aren't even going to ask you, unless you're going up against somebody that is. But most of your listings aren't going to be. I mean, do you guys interview against people a lot? I don't think so. Probably just your friends and your neighbors, and they're going to sign with you anyway. They just want to know you know your stuff, and you're not a part-timer.
Do you like how simple it all sounds? Just go make $1 million a year. Part-time, with no team, whatever. It's all good. Question?
What's nice is for all you guys, but hearing how humble you guys are. I've been in business longer than both of these guys, and what I've seen.
And he's number one.
Number one in Santa Cruz, 1987.
Yeah.
The bottom line is I've seen both of them grow their business, and I'll actually spend a lot of money and a lot of effort saying number one and grow. And both of you guys have done the same thing. You've come back in
Backwards.
being humble and being close to your clients. Because I saw you spend a
lot of money, man. Lot. Millions.
And I've done it too. And my team will admit, they'll come to me, we can go spend money doing this. I'm like, nope, I back it all down. It's always connecting with your clientele as best you can, your farm, your database, and you guys have gone back to that, and it's all personal touch and being as close to them as you can, because 70% of your business will come from that anyway.
Right, and Dr. Des, we're dealing with he's doing a loan for me right now. I'm dealing with a client I've had for over a year, and through 4 escrows of canceling. You never give up on anybody. I don't care. No, I've already lost money. I'm in the hole, and I'm only going to make a $10,000. I'm in the hole, but I stick with that guy. I stick with that guy. I stick with that guy. So you got to. It's the person. It's the person.
But I've always appreciated Nate's marketing because for some reason on those shopping carts we look the same. You're real estate Nate. No, I'm real estate Mike. You planning to move in the near future?
Exactly.
So
and here's much how people remember it. I haven't done that for at least 6 years.
Oh, yeah.
And you know, it's embarrassing. I get it. But they all go, gosh, you don't look like you do on your shopping carts. I'm like, freaking, I'm 10 years older. I haven't looked like that for, So I'm like trying to drop weight, cut my hair.
And I did it 10 years before him, and people still remember that. So
still remember.
There is something to branding in your geological farm. I would keep that in mind. So, all right, all kidding aside, you guys will probably never again have this opportunity to ask this guy questions. Dig deep. Don't be embarrassed. Ask questions. You could write it down and pass it to your neighbor if you're too embarrassed to ask. But this is a really good time to ask some questions. Michael.
When you first started, did you ever go after like NODs or expireds?
Repeat the question, Tim.
You're asking when I first started, if I called NODs, expireds, things like that. I did not. The reason why was because I was a police officer and I had another job, so I looked at that as my farm. Nothing wrong with it. I still don't do it. I still don't call expireds, canceled, anything. I don't do any of that. I only concentrate, but I was able to have that farm already. So it's kind of like the advantage I had with my situation. So.
When you first started, you said you didn't do any door knocking.
No.
So you had your farm with the police. And then
that's all I did.
When you came out here, you spent the money to advertise. That's how you got into your farm geographically.
So your question was, I had my farm first, and then when I saw that I was going to not have that forever because they weren't going to let me do both jobs and take all the time off and just like not take pay, but still stay on my. They weren't going to let me do it, right? So when I saw that that was going to happen, I felt, which was a mistake, that I needed to do what everybody else does and spend $10,000 a month. Okay. Well, there was times I was spending $20,000 a month. So if I was making $1 million, spending, that's just on marketing. Okay. So I did that for about 8 years. Was there benefit to it? Yes. Will it pay off in the future? Probably. But look, I would not recommend it because that's not the best way to do it. The best way is to get that. So when you go into that farm, I would take something manageable, probably 1,000 homes I would say is manageable. Get the track, call your title, get the track. And I would just immerse myself. I would look up and get every group that's in there, every Bible study, every, hey, it'll help your spirituality too, right? Do whatever, right? I sell stuff right out of church, but I try not to think I'm going to church to sell houses, but I do. So, but I don't know. You kill two birds with one stone. You get to heaven, and you sell, and you get to heaven rich, right? So, but no, I would just concentrate on that. But I would market that, and I would market at least once or twice a month. But if it's only 1,000 homes, that's all you need to get started. And when you get the names and numbers of the people, create the database.
It's like kind of sort of what I started doing out here. I'm coming from Berkshire Hathaway.
Okay.
But now I moved out here with my family.
Yes.
So I started doing expires and NODs, and I noticed I threw in tellers so I could get their numbers and emails.
Are you successful at it?
I've got a few in the cooker right now.
Okay.
I'm all over the valley. I mean, I'm just everywhere.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm knocking on doors.
Personally, for me, if I was just sitting in your situation, I was like, okay, I got to feed my kids. What do I got to do, right? I would go and I would pick 1,000 homes with 2 tracks and just start learning everything you can about everybody in there, everything that goes on, every group, everything, and just immerse yourself. So the best way, where do you live now?
Right in Newhall.
Okay, so take Newhall.
No,
Take
that's
that
my
from
farm.
And just go like that and just hit it. Hit everything you can in there. Take that. That's what I would do. I personally wouldn't just beat myself up because that's demoralizing too. If somebody tells me no, my feelings get hurt. If I was to call a cold call like Paul Murad, rest his soul, that just passed away, what a great guy. He cold called because he had an iron stomach. If I cold called and somebody said, you better take me off your car list, like I would be upset for 2 days. Like, oh, they're mad at me. Like if you guys send me a text when I leave, you stunk, I will be devastated. So.
That's important for you guys to hear. So here's a top producing agent saying he has feelings, and he doesn't like doors slammed in his face either. So it's natural for us to not like that stuff.
Yeah,
so
I lose a lot of sleep.
Yeah.
People aren't upset. I pay a lot of repairs.
Hair fell out, gray, the
Hair
whole
fell
thing.
out.
It's just poor guy. Any other questions?
Go ahead.
Johnny's got a
Or,
question in the
ma'am?
front.
She's
Oh,
been trying.
sorry. Go ahead.
So you know what you told us that you just make a call, like 4 or 5 phone calls every day?
Yeah.
Or something like that?
Mhm.
Most of the people, especially my database, I don't know, they don't like cold calls. They just are texting people or just, every
That's
time
fine.
you
I do
call
that
them,
too.
it goes on their voicemail and,
They don't. Okay, here's the thing. You really want a voicemail. And you really do, okay? Because when all they want to do is hear from you. Everybody's busy. They don't care. Like, most people don't pick up my phone calls. Like this morning, when I was driving over here, I know I've got a busy schedule. I have to be somewhere at 1, right? I called 2 people that closed 3 months ago. I do it all the time, right? So, hey, how you doing? They go, I don't want to sell my house. I'm laughing. Well, that's not why I'm calling, but blah, blah, blah. And I started talking about whatever, okay? So I knocked out 2 calls. They both picked up. But probably if I call 20 people, I'll only get 5 on the phone. Okay, so what I do is leave them at, hey, just thinking about you, haven't talked to you forever. Give me a call when you get a chance. You know what I always get back is a text. Hey, thanks for the call. Good to hear from you. That is all you want. You don't have to waste the time. You don't have to have the conversation you don't necessarily have to have, right? You're working your business. They heard from you. 3 months later, there she is again. Hey, just calling to say hi if you need anything. You know anybody? Blah, blah, blah. But usually, typically, I never mention real estate. Never. Never.
And as your broker, when you make $1 million a year, you can make 5 calls a day. We're going to bump it up a little bit more.
Right, right. I'm just saying 5, I mean, yeah, for me, that's 80
Give me
to 100.
10.
That's 80 to 100. That burns me through my database 2 to 3 times a year. That's why I do it. When it gets bigger, I'll have to call more. I try to burn 3 times a year, and I'll just go right down the list. Next, start all over, start all over, start all over. They all know me. They just hear my name. There he is again.
At some point they answer. Johnny, what was your question?
Just a little bit of a shift. You've been in the business for a little while now, still have some years left, but my question is in the long term. What is your exit strategy and what is your timeline and plan for your end game when you want to move on beyond this?
I mean, that's a great question. So what you're asking me is, what do I plan to do once it's over?
Exit strategy.
My exit strategy. Okay. It's 12 o'clock.
You can answer this question.
I'll answer this question and then we'll go. Okay, I do buy properties. Okay, I do not buy them in California. I pay cash. Okay, so my exit strategy is I do have investment properties. Okay, that will pay me X amount of dollars. Passive income and that. Like I said, only being at my age, I've still got, the way I look at it, I have no inclination of ever stopping this. So my exit strategy would be to have the database. At some point, if my sons, I have 2 sons, if they don't, here's what I have a feeling, they go to college, they get out, they make 80 grand, they're like, gosh, Dad makes, I can't go buy my nice stuff, right? They'll come, okay? If my sons don't come or anything like that, then at that point, 10 years, 15 years down the road, whenever that comes, I probably will have to set some things in place like Mike has done, meaning more people to handle this or handle that. And I don't ever see myself just up one day and hanging up the phone. And the only reason why is my whole life is wrapped around the people. So it's not just selling their house. I know them for everything. So for me just not to pick up, I don't know. Maybe if I'm 80, I'll change my mind. But until that comes, but I have I have passive income, some money in this, some money in that. I do have some properties. So I'll have enough when I retire to retire. I mean,
Good answer. Good
one
question.
thing I say, pay your house off. Try to pay your house off and stay in your house. Don't move like all these people do, because they all waste all their money and they're 60 buying a brand new freaking house. You know, get them to do it. You stick in the one you've got. I've been in my house 13 years. It'll be paid off in a couple years. It's worth a couple $1,000,000. I'm good. So pay your house off. That's what I say.
That's a good. That's
Pay
very
your
serious.
dog.
All right, we have questions everywhere.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, on your marketing pieces to your farm, do you have like a system, like topics, what you're going to send?
You know what I do? I only now, because I found over the time, and I'll save you a lot of drama, just do when you sell something. And if you don't sell it, then get somebody to let you say you sold it. I tell you what, just sold cards are the best. I got one the other day. I'm just going up there right after I leave here to sign the contract. Never seen the person, but they go, "We get your sold cards. You the only guy who sells anything in Stevenson Ranch?" No, I'm the only guy who says I sell anything in Stevenson Ranch, right? So I'm going up $965,000. That pays for a lot of postcards, right? So I just do just solds. I have a template. I call my lady who works off. It's one of my pastor's wives. I go, these are the two houses. She calls Mike. He sends her the pictures. They put them, print them, boom, gone. Next month, here's the two. Next month, here's the two. Next month, here's the two. And it's just over and over. And that's not that much. I mean, if I send out 5,000, I don't know, a couple grand, it's not that much. So.
Exactly. What other questions? Aaron, you got a question?
You were saying that you prospect a church. How do you do that without seeing sellers?
Okay. Well. I guess when I say I sell a lot of people's houses for church. No, I just go to church, and obviously if I'm in Bible studies and stuff like that, people just know who you are. Because everybody, I know, like if you sit down in a group at a Bible study, everybody knows what everybody does after a few times, and they just know. And then you'll notice that you don't really have to sell yourself. People will come to you. So they'll say, hey, but if you're talking to somebody about their kids or a different subject, my thing is I never initiate the real estate They tell you to do that, but I personally don't do it because they always do it. Somebody else does it. If they bring up to me, oh, my house, blah, blah, blah. Next thing you know, boom. If one person hears you talking to another person, it's just a web. So
you don't need to wear your name tag.
No, you don't need to wear your name tag.
No business cards in the offering plate?
No. Oh, Tony?
Wrap it.
Tony, you had a question?
Just to add to that, the late Mike Davis would always say, don't be a secret agent. Wear your identifier, your nameplate in this case, for what we do. And as a loan officer, I find the same thing, great success in cultivating the groups. In my case, team sports. My kids have played baseball for now.
Huge.
Forever. You know, I can't tell you how much business I picked up from that. All because they knew what I did, and I was somewhat knowledgeable to them. So I found that they were doing me, and that was something that just paid for itself.
That's an absolute. He said that he sponsors the team sports. I mean, my son, for instance, just what you do. One son rides mountain bikes at West Ranch. Okay, so I've got my banner sponsored by. I give him $2,000 to sponsor him for the year. They put my banner up everywhere. I don't say a word. They put my banner up. Team sponsored by Real Estate Nate. That's it. No phone number, no nothing on there. Hi, I'm Nate. Hey, you're Nate. That's all you have to do. My other son plays Warrior football. $2,000. So I have all those families. And for an example, so I'm there. So here's an example of what I do. I'm going to take 4 guys fishing from his football team. Okay. So I called San Diego. I set up a boat, a 6-person boat. It cost me $1,700. Okay. The hotel, so the whole weekend will cost me like $2,200 for 4 guys. I go. So we're sitting around joking at football practice. I go, yeah, God, I'd like to go fishing. Oh, I'd love to do that. I'd love to do that. Here's the way I insert. Okay. You guys want to go fishing? Let's go fishing. I said, I'll make you a deal. I'm your real estate agent for life, and I'll sell all your properties forever. They started laughing. I'll pay for the boat. They go, are you serious? Let's do it. We're headed there Thursday. Okay?
Boom.
So think about it. I spend $2,200. I'm done. I'll know these kids because I'll still see them. They'll tell everybody else. That's the way it works. Yeah. So we're going fishing. I'll have a good fishing trip, and I'll make.
Yeah, that's all right.
Right
So, do you apply that same strategy when your wife kind of prospects for you?
No, I'll tell you how my wife prospects for me. Okay, she does all of our books, and she knows a lot, and she's a college graduate with a master's degree, but she doesn't play like and here's another thing, and I can't believe I haven't touched on this before. Here's the best thing you can do is third-party credibility, okay? Is if you talk good about somebody else, but you can't talk good about yourself, okay? So what she does, when she's out there, they know that she has a license, and Anna-Marie might do the same thing, but she always defers it to me. And she doesn't, she's shown one property here and there, but she defers it to me as, oh yeah, and she plays like she doesn't, oh, I don't know what he's doing. You need to talk to Nate. But what it is, it's that relationship, and then maybe we go out to lunch with her, and we're all sitting there, and then I get to meet the husband. That's the way it works, and I take it from there. So that's the way it works, but she doesn't do it like she knows anything about anything. She just plays it off like, oh yeah, we work together, but Nate handles that part. She always defers, oh yeah, Nate handles that part. Nate handles that part. And then all they want to go, they play tennis with her, and they dump all their problems. And then I go in and sell the house. I mean,
she comes home, tells you what's up, and you go.
She does. She comes home and she goes, listen, they're blah, 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 and blah, 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 and she's mad, and you can't have, and that's the only thing. If your wife's giving you referrals, you got to keep them happy. You know, 'cause,
yeah.
But then you'll know. So we kind of work that angle that way. So a little bit from football, a little bit from the bike thing, a little bit from the Paseo Club, a little bit.
It all adds up to 100+ deals a year. Yeah. Exactly. Any more questions? Stacy?
So we talk about script all the time here, so I wanted to know what would be your script per se when you're talking to past clients and asking for the referral for their friends and family.
So a script for past clients and referrals.
Okay, how do I say it as a script? I guess the word script kind of throws me off a little bit. So, okay. No, everything I do is just like this. Okay, so I just I didn't know any of the questions until I got here. I'm just kind of free talking, right? So if I call them up and I'll say, hey Carol, how you doing? How you liking the house? Blah blah blah. Everything good? Kids good? Yada yada yada. Hey, do you have anybody that's going to move? You know, that's it. God, I wish I could give something more exotic.
When you call a past client, there's no script. It's your sphere of influence. You know them. You're just talking.
Yeah,
and there's no
here's
script,
what it is.
There's just not.
It's not. It doesn't sound scripted, but I know 5 steps of anything they say of what I'm going to say. So what I would say because I know in certain companies they study scripts, right? And Mike Ferry, I guess they teach. I don't go to any of that stuff, but I guess they teach you to do scripts and all that. But what you can learn from the scripts is I would take the points of the script, so I had my rebuttal. You need a rebuttal. So if somebody comes back and let's say Carol says, I don't know anybody, I'll go, come on, Carol, are you kidding me? None of your girlfriends are going to move? Help me out here. That's literally what I'll say, and she'll laugh. Ha, 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 ha. All right, no worries. How's Cameron doing? That's it. You don't push it. Next one, same thing. But I'm telling you, you go through 5 calls, somebody, blah, 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 but she's a pain in the butt. You don't want to work with her. Well, actually, I would like to work with her. Can I get her number? But here's the thing. If they always say, I always get the number. Like if they say, I'll have them call you. No. That won't never work because they'll never call. I always say, can I just get their number real quick? I'll shoot them a quick text. Can I use your name? That's what I do. Yeah.
Cool.
Just one key thing what they're talking about, because you guys are so natural, you just automatically do it, but a lot of people tend to make those calls. We always make birthday calls. Our best call we ever make is nobody gets pissed on the birthday. Usually.
No.
You told me. And then we basically say, hey, this is our one time to make sure we at least contact you and say hi, and we'd love to call you for your birthday and everything. And when we talk about, hey, a lot of people say, hey, do you know anybody that blows up their head? So now we've scripted out the basically, do you know any of your neighbors, any of your friends, maybe a coworker?
That's what I do.
And you break it up in pieces because then they can categorize it better. But anybody, they just go, I don't know, I know a lot of people. But when you categorize it to coworkers, friends, family members, it helps them, think of some of them. They almost always go boom, and my team laughs because we get a lot of referrals from our birthday calls.
And I'll tell you how much.
For those of you watching at home, he said calling on birthdays is important.
How heavy it'll get when you start to ask for referrals. My biggest, and I know you're going to laugh at this, my problem is I lose a lot of condos and smaller stuff, and then I'll go, why did you?
You don't have time for that, Nate. You don't sell little things.
Yep. So you always have to let everybody know that you have time for them. And you know what? Even if they don't know that, first of all, they do know. They know somebody who's got $1 million house. If you just don't think about that, you only think about the human being, and that $235,000 condo is just as important as that big house. You'll be so busy selling big houses, you'll never sell the condos. But if you have that mindset, you'll be fine.
We have to touch on this because we should have brought that up a long freaking time ago. So I get that every single day. I'll tell you how I work. I consciously, when I'm around people, I talk about the investment properties we have on the market. I talk about the below the 500 homes that we have on the market. And when they say, do you do small things? Do you do little things? I say, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, I know you think I don't sell normal homes and only sell luxury property. You just see those because they're expensive. But that's 10 a year, but you don't see the other 100 a year.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That we sell. And
Actually,
I
that's good.
consciously tell people that. Or they go, oh, you're a busy guy. I go, I'm not a busy guy. And they go, yeah, you're a busy guy. You're running all that. No, I'm not busy. I love to sell homes. Who do you know? And you gotta bring them down like that.
You got to.
Any other questions? Pretty cool, huh? Did you guys learn anything? Raise your hand high to show them. Now put these together for them.
Thank you very much.
All right, I got a couple. Thanks, buddy.
Brother.
I got a couple important things to say. Girls, come on up. I know you love that. So Claudia, Daisy, and Gina bought your lunch today. Give them a round of applause. You want to say? I know I didn't. I told you I wouldn't do this to you, but so I didn't. I don't know. I'm sorry. Say hi.
Okay, well, I'm Claudia. I'm the escrow manager downstairs. This is Daisy, my wonderful right-hand person. And this is Gina. She's the